Good hunting. Get lost. Die. You shall die.
If you want to get more closely acquainted with Vergil's Doppelganger mechanic, I strongly encourage you to watch my first video, which is basically this Doppelganger guide, where I go very in-depth into the basics, the rudimentary aspects of this mechanic. The link to that video will be in the description below, so yeah. So first things first, before I start talking about the combo and the mistakes you can make and all that jazz, I should preface this by talking about my controls. So I play this game using my mouse and keyboard. Yeah, really. Blasphemy, I know. But I think that if you've ever played a single game on your PC using a mouse and a keyboard, these controls should be familiar to you. I think they're very easy to grasp. So, just like with almost every game ever, WASD are the keys you use for movement. So W is forward, S is backwards, A is left, D is right. This is the equivalent to you using your analog stick for moving, like tilting it left, right, forward, backward. That's basically what I use. So again, W forward, S backward, A left, D right. Obviously, just like in every game ever, space is jump, so I jump using space. The left mouse button, unsurprisingly, is the attack button, also like in every game ever. The right mouse button is the button I use for Mirage Blades, so all my Mirage Blade attacks are mapped to the right button, the right mouse button, I mean. So that's basically it for these basic controls. Shift is the button I use for locking on. So when I lock on, I press Shift. In this game, you gotta be locked on for just about any attack ever. Only under specific circumstances should you release the lock on. But yeah, basically lock on is Shift in my case. So next up, we've got the trick action. So, trick up, down, air trick, all that stuff. I use E. So E is the button I use. So if I press E without locking on, that is trick up. If I press E while locking on, like Shift plus E, that is air trick, and I teleport. If I press back to forward plus E, or S plus W plus E, that is trick down. So like I said, E is the trick action. That's the button I use for tricking, basically. R is the button I use for taunting. So that's the taunt button. Air taunts, lock on taunts, doesn't matter. R is the button you gotta press for taunting. Moving on, I have F, and F is the button I use to charge my Sindel trigger. So I press and hold F, then I release it, and I basically go into my Sindel trigger mode. Moving on, we also have 1 and 2. So 1 is the button for changing the weapon to the right. So my layout is as follows. I use the default layout for my weapons, my arsenal. So it goes Yamato, Beowulf, Mirage Edge. So if I have the Yamato equipped and I press 1, it will switch to Beowulf, which is the weapon to its right. And if I press 1 again, it will switch from Beowulf to the Mirage Edge, which is the weapon to its right. If I have the Yamato equipped, and I press 2, it will go to the weapon that's on its left, and that is the Mirage Edge. If I press 2 again, it will switch to Beowulf. If I press 2 again, it will once again switch to the Yamato. So that's how this works. We're switching weapons left and right. That's how it works. Moving on, we have the Doppelganger buttons. So the buttons are as follows. X is the slow Doppelganger. This is a Doppelganger that is kind of delayed by about, I don't know, half a second or something. So that's X. C is the normal Doppelganger. He is slightly delayed, not by half a second, but, like, he's just not completely in sync with you. So that's C. And V is the haste version of the Doppelganger who is completely in sync with you. Meaning that he immediately reacts to your commands and he mimics your inputs. He registers them immediately and simply reacts to them. So, yeah. I deactivate the Doppelganger by pressing Z. So that's how I do it. And, you know, that's pretty much... those are all the controls, really. There are some other things like... you know, using CTRL to basically lock onto multiple targets, or, I mean, switch the lock on, stuff like that, or using the arrows, using, you know, it just doesn't matter, really. These are the main things that you will need. So, if I say, I'm pressing D plus left mouse button, that means that I'm pressing right plus attack button. If I say I'm pressing S plus W plus left mouse button, that means I'm pressing back to forward plus attack button. Kind of like tilting your analog stick back and then forward and then pressing the attack button. So that's how it works. If I say back to forward plus right mouse button, or S plus W plus right mouse button, that is basically back to forward plus your Mirage Blade button. So heavy rain blades in my case. But don't worry, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I'll say right plus attack button instead of D plus left mouse button, because I feel like that's more universally comprehensible, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, these are my controls, and now let's talk about the actual combo. Alright, so now we got the Void combo. I bet this upload threw a lot of you for a loop, because, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you thought I'd given up on these combos, you know, these combo analyses, but I haven't. We still got 5 more combos left to analyze. Well, 4 after this one's done. So this is the Void combo. It's one of the last combos that I did back in, I don't know, September, October 2022. And it is one of the hardest combos on the list. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy at all. But it's for 2 reasons, and I'll get into that a bit later. So this combo is an unholy amalgamation of 4 different combos. As you already know, with all these Vergil combos, more often than not, I'll improvise. I'll take some liberties, and I'll basically take several instances from several different combos, and I'll combine them. I'll combine these, you know, some of my favorite instances, some favorite segments, and I'll combine them into one video, into one combo. So basically that's what I did here. This combo is a mixture of one of Bibsy's combos, one of Maker T's combos. It's called Vergil Doppelganger combo, his combo 13, and combo 9. So it's a mix of these 4 combos. And I called it the Void combo because you got to use Void Slash like, what, 3 times, 4 times? I don't even know. So, yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so you gotta be in your Sin DT, and you gotta have the Yamato equipped. And the first thing you gotta do is input the Stormblades, which is left plus Mirage Blade button, or in my case, it's A plus right mouse button. And make sure that you keep holding the Mirage Blade button, so you don't let go of it. As you can see, I keep holding the right mouse button, so don't release the Stormblades just yet. Alright, so now you use Rising Star with the Yamato, you switch to Beowulf, you let go of the lock-on, and you press left plus attack button to do this reverse Starfall. So as you already know, normally Starfall is just pressing the attack button while you're in midair, or locking on and pressing the attack button. But if you want to do this directional inverse Starfall, you gotta let go of the lock-on, so I release Shift, and you press left plus attack button. If you don't let go of the lock-on, you know, Vergil will still do the normal Starfall. So you got to make sure to let go of the, let go of the lock-on. So you let go of the lock-on, you press the left plus attack button, and you do this reverse Starfall. And now, just as you're about to hit the ground, you release the Stormblades. So you finally let go of the Mirage Blade button, and you release the Stormblades. This will cause the enemy to get launched into the air. So now you basically use Kick 13 and which is, you know, left plus right plus attack button, and you gotta keep holding the attack button. So you keep holding the attack button because you want to do the full kick 13 with those additional 2 launching kicks. If you do the normal kick 13, well, the combo will simply fail. So you press left plus right plus attack button, and you keep holding the attack button while you're using kick 13. And while you're using kick 13, you gotta deactivate your Sindel trigger. That is very, very important. It's of paramount importance. I'll explain why later. Alright, so now you basically hit the enemy, you launch them into the air with these last 2 hits, and you switch the Mirage Edge. And now, you summon the haste version of the Doppelganger. Both Vergil and the Doppelganger are on the right side in midair. Vergil has the Mirage Edge equipped, and the Doppelganger obviously has the Yamato equipped. So Vergil uses Helmbreaker, but the Doppelganger uses Aerial Cleave. Now, how do we do that? It's very simple. We press right plus attack button, because when you're on the right side in midair with the Yamato and you want to do aerial cleave, you press right plus attack button. So Vergil's Doppelganger will copy you pressing right plus attack button, and he will use aerial cleave. But if you only press the attack button, which is required for Helmbreaker, without pressing right, Vergil will still use Helmbreaker, but the Doppelganger will only use 1 hit with the Yamato in the air, because he will react to you pressing the attack button once. And for Vergil, that's Helmbreaker. But for the Doppelganger, who can only use the Yamato, pressing the attack button with the Yamato once in the air is only the first hit of Aerial Rave 1, and that's what the Doppelganger will do. Alright, so now that you've basically pinned the enemy to the ground with Helmbreaker, and now that the Doppelganger has pinned the enemy to the ground with Aerial Cleave, you immediately switch to the Yamato, and you use Rapid Slash. And now, as you're using Rapid Slash, you basically use Yamato Combo B, which is attack button, pause, attack button. And this will cause Vergil's Doppelganger to use Yamato Combo B, and basically knock the enemy away. And Vergil won't react to you pressing this because he's too busy using Rapid Slash and sheathing his sword. And as you already know, when Vergil is sheathing his sword, he doesn't react to melee commands. But, you know, that's all you need to know. Now, you may be a little confused here because you can see that, you know, Yamato Combo B is usually like attack button, pause, attack button. So it's like 1, 2, pause, 3. But here, I actually use, like, I press it 3 times, like, it's like, attack button, pause, attack button. But that's, you know, just completely ignore that. That can happen. It doesn't need to be strictly, you know, 2, pause, 1. You know, it's just, you know, as long as you know how to input Yamato Combo B, that's all you need to know. So, after using Rapid Slash, you just simultaneously, while using it, you input Yamato Combo B. Alright, so now that the enemy has basically been, you know, launched by the final hit of Yamato Combo B, you input Void Slash, which is back plus forward plus attack button, or in my case, S plus W plus left mouse button, and now you will catch the enemy with Void Slash. Once you've done this, you immediately deactivate the Doppelganger, and now you immediately call him again. So you once again summon the haste version of the Doppelganger, the one who is in sync with you and mimics all your commands immediately. Alright, so now that you've basically called the Doppelganger, you immediately use Rapid Slash again, which is right plus attack button, and make sure that you use Rapid Slash before the Doppelganger has been fully formed, because if you call the Doppelganger, if you summon the Doppelganger, and you wait for him to fully form and then use Rapid Slash, what's going to happen is Vergil and the Doppelganger will use Rapid Slash in sync. They'll use it in tandem, and that's not what you want. You want Vergil to use Rapid Slash and the Doppelganger to just stay there. And the way to do this is to basically cancel the Doppelganger summon by using Rapid Slash before he's fully formed, so immediately after summoning him, basically. Now, I've personally never made this mistake while attempting this combo, but, you know, I just feel like I'd be remiss not to bring it up, because this is a setup that appears in a lot of combos. Like, it appears in the Street combo, the Heaven combo, I think it appears in the Wasteland combo, a lot of combos where you gotta summon the haste version of the Doppelganger and then use Rapid Slash before the Doppelganger is fully formed so that the Doppelganger can stay there and not move with you. So I feel like it's only appropriate that I bring that up, even though it's not a mistake that I made. You might make that mistake, so I feel like it's only fair that I bring this up, like I said. And now, while you're using Rapid Slash, you input Void Slash, which is left plus right plus attack button, and the Doppelganger will use Void Slash to prevent the enemy from falling to the ground. And obviously, when you're on the left side on the ground with the Yamato, pressing left plus right plus attack button is Void Slash, or in my case, A plus D plus left mouse button. And since the Doppelganger is on the left side and the camera is facing this way, you gotta press, left plus right plus attack button. But of course, it depends on the camera angle. Maybe your camera isn't facing this way, but you'll know, so. And obviously, Vergil himself won't react to this because he's too busy using Rapid Slash and sheathing his sword. So, basically, now that the Doppelganger has caught the enemy with Void Slash, you immediately press right plus jump, which is basically strafe. So this side dash that Vergil does, that's basically called strafe. It's something that happens in the street combo as well. And the way to do this is you press right plus jump, or any directional key. It depends on your camera, right? In this case, I have to press D plus space, or right plus jump. And Vergil will now use this side dash. Alright, so now you gotta basically input Void Slash with Vergil, again, so it's like back plus forward plus attack button. So you input Void Slash, and immediately, before the Void Slash even comes out, that millisecond, you immediately input Yamato combo B with the Doppelganger, which is attack button, pause, attack button. But once again, I press the attack button 3 times, it doesn't really matter. So you input Yamato combo B, and now, when the final hit of Yamato combo B hits the enemy, Vergil will sheath his sword, and the enemy will be caught by this Void Slash explosion. And now you immediately call the Doppelganger back to Vergil's position by pressing V. So you call the Doppelganger back, and now you once again use Yamato combo B, which is attack button, pause, attack button. And now you wait a little, make sure, this is pivotal, this is crucial info, so make sure that you stay and wait until this one small Mirage Blade has embedded itself into the enemy. If this doesn't, if you use Rising Star immediately after using Yamato combo B, and you don't wait for this Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy, there will be a lot of problems. Alright, so before I continue with the remainder of the combo, I really feel like it's really important to bring up Yamato combo B and how it actually works. So, Yamato combo B is used 4 times throughout this combo, and it's really important. Now, there are a few things that really need to be kept in mind regarding this combo. So, like I said, Yamato combo B is attack button, pause, attack button. And it's basically 2 hits, pause, 1 hit. And when you do this last hit, Vergil will blow the enemy away. And that's what's going to happen. And now, this one small Mirage Blade will embed itself into the enemy. And when Vergil sheathes his sword, this Mirage Blade that has embedded itself into the enemy will cause the enemy to get launched into the air. Or rather, this Mirage Blade will propel the enemy into the air. But only if you let Vergil finish sheathing his sword. Alright? And this is really important for a multitude of reasons. Alright, so let me provide a little example. Okay, so let's say you did Yamato combo B, and you waited for the Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy, but you didn't wait for Vergil to finish sheathing his sword, so you canceled it by dashing away or something. So, what this means is, the Mirage Blade will embed itself into the enemy, and it will stay embedded, but the enemy won't get launched into the air because you didn't sheath your sword. So, let's say that now, you use Yamato combo B again, on the air, right? And this time, you wait for Vergil to finish sheathing his sword. What's going to happen is this time, when Vergil sheathes his sword, the enemy will get launched into the air. Because that one Mirage Blade that had embedded itself previously is still active. And if you do Yamato Combo B again, and Vergil sheathes his sword this time, the enemy will get propelled into the air. So that's very, very important. So basically, if you use Yamato Combo B, and the sword is embedded, and you do Yamato Combo B again, it's going to activate it and launch the enemy. Now, let me explain something else. Alright, so what happens if, conversely, you use Yamato Combo B, but you don't wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy? So, let's say you use Yamato Combo B, and now, after the third hit, you immediately use Rising Star before the Mirage Blade embeds itself into the enemy. Alright? So, what's going to happen is if you attempt to use Yamato Combo B again and you sheathe your sword, the enemy won't get launched into the air because the Mirage Blade hasn't embedded itself into the enemy, basically. Because, you didn't wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy because you used Rising Star immediately, and now if you attempt to use Yamato Combo B on the air or something, and you sheathe your sword, it doesn't matter because no Mirage Blade has been embedded into the enemy, and if you sheathe your sword, there's nothing to activate that thing that would launch the enemy into the air. You know what I mean? So this is very, very important. If you use Yamato Combo B, like I did here, and as you can see, I didn't wait for the Mirage Blade to basically embed itself into the enemy. I immediately used Rising Star. And I tried to do the remainder of the combo, and everything was going perfectly, and then I try to basically, sheathe my sword, but nothing's happening. The enemy isn't getting launched into the air. So the combo failed. So make sure, like I said, for the umpteenth time, make sure you wait for that one Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy, and only then are you free to use Rising Star. Alright, so that's it. While I'm at it, I feel like it's only fair that I explain another thing. So I said earlier how, you're supposed to, you have to deactivate your Sindal trigger while using Kick 13. And why is that? So, Yamato Combo B, as we've already established, is basically attack button, pause, attack button. And the last hit of Yamato Combo B will blow the enemy away, right? They will, the last hit provides knockback. That's all you need to know. However, let's say you're in your Sindal trigger form, and you try to use Yamato Combo B. And let's say, it's like attack button, pause, and then it's attack button. So there are two more hits. So in base form, Yamato Combo B is 3 hits. In Sin DT, you get one additional hit. So this one additional, crescent flip with the sword, And that means that the third hit of Yamato Combo B in Sin DT is not the final hit. It's the fourth hit. So, why is this important? Well, for one very simple reason. So, like I said, in your base form, the last hit, the third hit of Yamato Combo B provides knockback. It blows the enemy away. However, in your Sindal trigger, when you use the third hit of Yamato Combo B, it doesn't provide knockback. It doesn't blow the enemy away because you still have to use that one final hit. Now, why is this relevant? How is this relevant to this combo? Well, it is relevant because of the simple fact that, okay, so, this part of the combo where you're supposed to basically input Yamato Combo B, and the Doppelganger is supposed to use Yamato Combo B and blow the enemy away directly towards you so you can catch them with Void Slash. Well, if you're in your Sin DT, if you don't deactivate your Sin DT, what's going to happen is the Doppelganger will use Yamato Combo B, and that third hit will not blow the enemy away. So the enemy won't get sent flying towards you because the third hit of Yamato Combo B in Sin DT does not provide knockback. It won't blow the enemy away in your direction. So that is why you really need to deactivate your Sindal trigger. That's very important. But now you might be wondering, if that's the case, why do I even need to be in my SynDT form in the first place? Well, it's for the very simple fact that you gotta use your Sin Double Trigger Kick 13. Now, Kick 13 normally is pretty short. You know, it's like a couple of hits in your base form. However, in SynDT, it's a lot longer, you know? So let's say you were in base form and you try to use Kick 13. Well, you would simply finish Kick 13 before you could catch the enemy, you know? But in SynDT, Kick 13 provides more hits, like 3 to 4, maybe even 5 more hits. So that is why you need to be in your SynDT, because Kick 13 has more hits in SynDT than it does in base form. If you do it in base form, you won't catch the enemy. If you do it in SynDT, you will be able to catch the enemy. So make sure that you deactivate your Sindal trigger while you're using Kick 13. That's all you need to know. And a similar thing happens with Beowulf Combo B. You know, in your base form, Beowulf Combo B is attack button, pause, attack button. But in SynDT, you have this additional hit, this Tetsuzanko, where Vergil spreads his wings and hits the enemy. And just like with Yamato Combo B, when you do Beowulf Combo B in base form, the last hit is basically this punch where Vergil lunges at the enemy like this, and he blows them away. But in SynDT, this same punch doesn't blow the enemy away because you still have one additional hit after that. So, you know, when Vergil lunges at the enemy with this punch in SynDT, it won't blow the enemy away. And it's kind of the same thing with Yamato Combo B. Alright, so let's take it from the top. So basically, you call the Doppelganger back to your position by pressing V, and you use Yamato Combo B. And you make sure to wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy. Now, you basically use Rising Star. And now that you're done using Rising Star, you immediately, in that very millisecond, you use Trig Down to descend to the ground. And now, pay very close attention. So now, what you're supposed to do is, and this is going to sound a little comical, you're supposed to use Yamato Combo B yet again. So, you're supposed to make sure that Vergil does Yamato Combo B, and that his Doppelganger does Aerial Rave 2. So, as you already know, I feel ridiculous. Like, I feel actually disabled for saying this, but as you already know, Yamato Combo B is attack button, pause, attack button. And Aerial Rave 2 is attack button, pause, and then you keep mashing the attack button. So these two moves, Yamato Combo B and Aerial Rave 2, they kind of overlap in terms of commands, in a way. So, after using Trig Down, you press attack button, and Vergil will use the first 2 hits of Yamato Combo B, and his Doppelganger will use the first 2 hits of Aerial Rave 2. Now you make a slight pause, because this pause is required for both Yamato Combo B and Aerial Rave 2. And now, you continue mashing. You press the attack button, and you mash it a few times. Now, as you can see here, I basically mash the attack button. I press the attack button 4 times, very rapidly in succession. And then after the 4th hit, after the pause, I start holding the attack button. So just as Vergil's Doppelganger is about to use the final hit of Aerial Rave 2 to pin the enemy to the ground, you start holding the attack button, and you release it when Vergil is done sheathing his sword, so that you could do this perfect Judgment Cut. If you mistime this, if you hold the attack button for too long, or you don't hold it long enough, you will end up using a normal Judgment Cut. And this will basically cause Vergil to use this backdash, and the combo will fail. So this is a no-go. You need to make sure that your timing is perfect. You gotta use the perfect Judgment Cut. Like the millisecond Vergil puts his sword back in its scabbard, when the spark appears, that's when you release the attack button, if you want to do this perfect Judgment Cut. So that's basically how it works. And now you just use Judgment Cut End, and you also simultaneously use the Blistering Blades, which is forward plus Mirage Blade button, to basically prevent the enemy from falling to the ground. And now you do Judgment Cut End, and that's basically the end of the combo. Now, of course, you don't have to strictly adhere to the amount of times that I press the attack button. So, like I said, when I, start this part of the combo, this last part, with Yamato Combo B and Area Raid 2, like I said, it's like attack button, pause, and then I press the attack button, like 4 more times, right? But here you can see how I pressed the attack button 5 more times, and after the 5th hit, that's when I started holding the attack button. So all you need to know is it's not very strict, but you'll get the feeling for it, right? It's really not difficult. Just make sure to start holding the attack button at around this point when Vergil's Doppelganger is about to pin the enemy to the ground with the final hit of Area Raid 2. A little earlier than that. Like, you can see this on the screen. Like, you can see when I start holding the attack button. So that is very important. Now look, I know that I spend a lot of time talking about Yamato Combo B, but it's really not a very cumbersome process. Like, there's nothing to do. You simply execute Yamato Combo B and that's it. And you wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself. So yeah, man, it's not nearly as cumbersome. It's not nearly as hard as I might be making it out to be with these long-winded explanations, so... Oh, anyway, I can't believe I haven't brought this up, but, you'll notice how when Vergil's Doppelganger uses the last hit of Aerial Raid 2, what's going to happen is the enemy will be pinned to the ground, so they'll fall to the ground, and then they will get immediately launched into the air again. And the reason they get launched into the air is because Vergil is done sheathing his sword after Yamato Combo B. And this all ties in to what I basically explained previously. So you use Yamato Combo B, and you wait for this Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy, then you use Rising Star, and then you use Trig Down, and now Vergil uses Yamato Combo B again, and then he finishes sheathing his sword so that he could activate that Mirage Blade that had previously embedded itself into the enemy. And when Vergil sheathes his sword after Yamato Combo B, what's going to happen is the enemy will get launched into the air because that one Mirage Blade that had previously embedded itself will basically propel them into the air. So that's how this works. And like I said, if you don't wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself into the enemy, if you use Rising Star immediately, what's going to happen is, even if you try to do the combo perfectly, in the end, when Vergil is done sheathing his sword after Yamato Combo B, the enemy simply won't be launched into the air because you didn't wait for the Mirage Blade to embed itself. So there's nothing to activate the launch. So yeah, that's why I emphasize this so much. Alright, so now let's talk about some of the mistakes you can make while attempting this combo. I've already gone over some of the mistakes you can make, like, the fact that if you don't hold the attack button while using kick 13, you won't get those 2 additional launching kicks. You'll do a normal kick 13 instead, and that will result in the combo failing, obviously. And I did mention a few other things, like a few other mistakes, so I'll try to refrain from repeating myself ad nauseum, because I feel like it would just be redundant to constantly, bring up the same mistakes over and over again. So how I mentioned how you need to let go of the Mirage Blade button, or rather, you need to release the Storm Blades just before you hit the ground with Starfall. Somewhere around that part, like at that point. But as you can see here, I would let go of the Mirage Blade button, or in my case, the right mouse button, and I would release the Storm Blades before I was even done with Rising Star. And you can see so many instances, so many examples of me doing this very same thing. You really need to make sure to release the Storm Blades, or, you release the Mirage Blade button, you let go of it after you're done with Starfall, or just before you hit the ground with Starfall. I think that would be ideal, because if you don't, you will either end up not hitting the enemy with kick 13 at all, or you'll just end up hitting him, but it's just really annoying. Sometimes the camera angle will get all screwed up and distorted, and I just don't even know how to explain it. You can see all this on screen right now, and yeah, like I said, it's just really, really annoying. Alright, so here you can see this one instance where I did that exact same thing. I released the Mirage Blade button, I released the Storm Blades way too early. And as you can see, the camera got all distorted and just screwed up and zoomed in, but I did end up hitting the enemy with kick 13. So kick 13 did connect, and that includes the last two kicks, so I managed to basically launch the enemy into the air with kick 13. However, if you look very closely, you'll notice that there is a lot of distance between me and the enemy. Or rather, I'm not close enough to the enemy. And as a result, when I summoned the Doppelganger, the enemy gained a significant amount of altitude. So when I follow this up with Helmbreaker, I simply couldn't pin the enemy to the ground because they weren't on the same altitude as Vergil. And by extension, the Doppelganger couldn't pin the enemy to the ground with aerial cleave because the enemy was simply so high up in the air. So this is one thing, and it's all because I released the Mirage Blade button, or rather the Storm Blades, way too early. So like I said, make sure to release the right mouse button, or rather, the Mirage Blade button, or the Storm Blades, whatever you want to call it, just before you hit the ground with Starfall. I would say that is the ideal time frame, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, this is something to look out for. It only happened a few times. Well, there were a lot of instances where I basically released the right mouse button too early, but this thing in particular, this issue where, the enemy gained a lot of altitude and I wasn't close enough to them, yeah, that only happened like twice or thrice, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Here you can see how the Doppelganger ended up using Yamato Combo A instead of Combo B. And this is because I didn't make a pause after those first two hits. So I was just mashing very fast, and the pause I made wasn't long enough. So this is on me, honestly. This is not some, if you have a brain, you most likely won't make this mistake. But, I feel like it's only appropriate to include this here as well. So, yeah. Now here you can see how the Doppelganger ended up resetting Yamato Combo B. So here, conversely, I did the exact opposite. I made the pause, but the pause was too long. So when I pressed the attack button again, the Doppelganger ended up restarting Yamato Combo B. So make sure that the pause you make isn't too long, but definitely make sure it's not too short, because like I said, when it's too short, the Doppelganger is going to end up using Yamato Combo A, which was basically what happened in the previous example. And if the pause is too long, the Doppelganger will end up resetting Yamato Combo B. And both of these are a no-go. So, yeah. And now it's time to talk about the most, oh my god, man, the most aggravating mistake, and by the same token, it's the most frequent mistake that you can make with this combo. This is essentially the mistake that renders this combo incredibly difficult. There are like 2 to 3 mistakes that you can make with this combo that are incredibly common, and this is like number 1. And as is the case with most of these combos, it's usually not the Doppelganger part that makes things cumbersome. No, it's usually something entirely different. And in this case, it's something that I simply cannot explain. And that is this. So what happens here, and this happened like, I want to say more than 200 times. I don't know. Maybe I'm lowballing it. Maybe I'm highballing it. I have no idea. But basically, the Doppelganger ends up using Yamato Combo B. And the last hit of Yamato Combo B blows the enemy away. However, the enemy doesn't get sent flying directly towards me. Instead, they just fly away in some completely random direction, and as a result, I can't catch the enemy with Void Slash, which is the whole point. And this is the most annoying mistake ever. At first, I thought it was a camera issue, because more often than not, when you have issues that you can't explain, it's got something to do with the camera. But nah, not here. So I was like, what if it's a stage issue? But no, I tried using this combo in the void, I tried using this combo outside of the void, it made little to no difference, so it's not about that. This is about something else, and I have no idea how to explain it. I don't know if it has something to do with the enemy's altitude before the Doppelganger uses Yamato Combo B. I have no idea if it's got something to do with the distance. I cannot explain this. All I know is this is the most tantalizing mistake, and it just keeps repeating itself, and it keeps repeating itself, and like it drove me crazy. Like, this was the mistake that made me go, okay, yeah, look, this combo is one of the hardest combos on the list, and that really would not have been the case. Like, that wouldn't be the case if not for this mistake, because it's that common. It is that frequent. You can't explain this. You can't do anything about it. You use Void Slash, you try to catch the enemy, but no, they just fly past you, and you cannot do anything. And it's really annoying because it just feels downright insulting seeing this. And like I said, there is no definitive way of knowing what causes this. It's just this constant trial and error thing. But yeah, man. So here, you know, I mean, you can see this on the screen. You know, you can get a glimpse at how many attempts it took, and these were just some of the most annoying instances. Like, some of the instances that I recorded. This happened. Oh my god, man! An infinite number of times. It's just incredibly annoying. Now, here you can see how the last hit of Yamato Combo B doesn't even launch the enemy. It doesn't even touch them, for that matter. I don't know how or why this happens, but it's just incredibly annoying. It happened only a few times, but you know, it doesn't really matter. I have to include this here, so yeah. And here you can see another camera issue. So Vergil ends up using Rapid Slash instead of Void Slash. Now, as you already know, when you're facing, you know, the camera like this, like forward, like straight forward, if you want to use Rapid Slash, that is forward plus attack button, or in my case, W plus left mouse button. But if you want to use Void Slash, you gotta press back plus forward plus attack button, or in my case, S plus W plus left mouse button. And as you can see, in all of these various instances, I am clearly pressing S plus W plus left mouse button, or back plus forward plus attack button. But Vergil is using Rapid Slash instead of Void Slash. So Vergil doesn't register me pressing back plus forward plus attack button. He only registers me pressing forward plus attack button, which is Rapid Slash. Now, I think that, like, there are two possible explanations. The first one is obviously the camera. You know, the camera in this game is, when it comes to combos, it's a complete clusterfuck. I don't know why that's the case, but, you know, it is what it is. However, there is another possibility, and that is the fact that, as you already know, while Vergil is sheathing his sword, he does not react to melee commands. So you can press the attack button all you want. Until Vergil has put the sword back in its sheath, he will not react. So it's highly likely that I pressed back too early. So I pressed S way too early, and Vergil only reacted to me pressing forward plus attack button, because that's when he was done sheathing his sword, basically. So that is the other explanation. But the first explanation is that it's the camera. It's highly likely that it's actually both. So I hope you know what I mean. But I think that the video playing right now just completely debunks this theory because you can clearly see that I am pressing both back and forward at the exact same time. Like, literally at the exact same time. And also, by the same token, you can see how I waited for Vergil to be completely done sheathing his sword. So Vergil is done sheathing his sword, and then I press back and forward at the exact same time. So I think that, on second thought, now it's even more plausible that it's only the camera. So I think this is a camera issue at its core. This only happened a handful of times. It's not that big of an issue, so yeah, man, you'll eventually get the feeling for it. Speaking of not very common mistakes, you can see this one. So Vergil ends up using Void Slash too early. This only happened a handful of times, like I said. It's not very frequent, it's not very common, but as you can see, Vergil simply did a Void Slash way too early, and he ended up not catching the enemy. So that's definitely a mistake that I feel is kind of noteworthy, even though it didn't really happen too many times. But yeah. So here you can see how I ended up not deactivating the Doppelganger. So I didn't deactivate the Doppelganger after Combo B. Instead, I simply called him back to my position. So obviously, this happened a handful of times. I don't know why. Like, this is on me. It's not an issue that I can't explain. Make sure that immediately after the Doppelganger is done using Combo B, you deactivate him by pressing Z, and then you immediately summon him again. You summon the haste version of the Doppelganger. So, don't make this mistake of just simply calling him back to your position. So, yeah. Oh, and this is a mistake that, it's not too frequent, but it did happen quite a few times. So I was too close to the enemy for some reason, and when I when I summoned the Doppelganger, it launched the enemy into the air. So when I attempted to use Void Slash with the Doppelganger, the Void Slash simply didn't hit the enemy because they were too high up in the air. So this is something that is it's just really, really annoying. And again, it's one of those things you have zero control over, seemingly. But, in these examples, like in these two examples that you can see on the screen here, the reason the Doppelganger couldn't catch the enemy with Void Slash was because, like I said, I was too close to the enemy, and, the Doppelganger being summoned basically launched the enemy too high up into the air, and that's why Void Slash couldn't connect. But in the examples that I'm about to showcase, that was not the case. I was not too close to the enemy, I summoned the Doppelganger normally, and the Doppelganger did not launch the enemy into the air, yet Void Slash failed regardless. And it failed because the enemy was still too high up in the air. They were at a very, very high altitude, and as a result, Void Slash simply failed to catch the enemy. So even though, I didn't launch the enemy into the air or anything, they were high up in the air. They were too high up by default. And this is the second most common mistake. Like, it is second only to the first mistake that the one where the enemy gets sent flying in some random direction. So this is incredibly vexing. And it's one of those things that I simply can't explain. Like, I have no idea what this depends on. Because, you use Void Slash too early, it won't catch the enemy. You use Void Slash too late, the enemy will be on the ground. And there's simply no way to explain why the enemy is sometimes way too high up in the air. And yeah, man, it's just one of those things. Now, of course, I could mention the whole, like, if you wait for the Doppelganger to fully form and then use Rapid Slash, you and the Doppelganger will use Rapid Slash in sync, but I've already mentioned that, so I feel like it will be completely redundant to do that again, even though I contradicted myself just now by mentioning it regardless, but whatever. Alright, so doesn't really matter. Oh, and here you can see that exact same thing that happened previously, but it's happening in this segment of the combo. So Vergil ends up using Rapid Slash instead of Void Slash. I've already explained this. I talked about this at length in just a few minutes ago, so I don't think there's any need for me to try and clarify this. It's probably a camera issue, so let's leave it at that. Now, alright, so some of the other mistakes that I've encountered, like here you can see this this doppel flip. I don't even know how this is possible. I don't even know what I ended up pressing. I guess I pressed no, I actually have no idea how this ended up happening. But the doppelganger just ended up flipping. Yay, I guess. I really have no idea. So here you can see how Void Slash exploded way too early, and as a result, it didn't catch the enemy. So, like I said, it's very important that the Void Slash you input here, it's very important that it explodes, because the explosion will basically draw the enemy towards you. It's kind of like some kind of universal pull. And if it explodes before the enemy can land, before the enemy is in your proximity, what's going to happen is the enemy will simply fly away without getting caught or pulled towards you. So this is something that can definitely happen. It happened a few times. I wouldn't say it's a very frequent mistake, though, but, just a heads up. I mean... that would imply that there's anything you can do to stop this. I genuinely don't know how you could possibly, prevent this from happening. But luckily, it's not a very common issue. Here you can see how I basically called the doppelganger back to my position, and I immediately started using Yamato Combo B. But the doppelganger didn't react immediately. He wasn't in sync. So, in other words, we desynced. And this happened more times than I'm willing to admit. I don't know why this keeps happening. And it's so annoying. It's so exasperating. Because, this combo, you have so many windows to fail. There's so much room for failure that when you finally get to this part, this is the easy part, or rather, it should be the easy part. And when this happens, you just can't help but go crazy, honestly. You call the doppelganger back to your position, you input Yamato Combo B, yet the doppelganger doesn't react immediately, and you desync. Now, I guess the only word of advice here that I can offer is, I guess, wait a little? Wait for the doppelganger to be wait 1 second or half a second after calling the doppel back to your position. I really have no idea. But I guess that this is the only explanation. Just wait a fraction of a second before inputting Yamato Combo B. Otherwise, you'll desync. And I don't know if that's the reason, but it's the only plausible explanation as to why this may be happening. So, yeah. Alright, so here you can see how I ended up using Aerial Rave 1 instead of Aerial Rave 2. And you can also see how Vergil ended up using Yamato Combo A instead of Combo B. So, obviously, like I said, Yamato Combo B and Aerial Rave 2 are attack button, pause, and then you press the attack button again. But here, I did not make any pause. I kept mashing the attack button more than 3 times, and as a result, Vergil ended up using Yamato Combo A, and the doppelganger ended up using Aerial Rave 1. So, that's definitely something to look out for. Again, this is mostly on me. It was a misinput. It only happened a few times because I kind of got carried away. And, yeah, that shouldn't happen if you have a brain, basically. So, here you can see how, basically, how do I even explain this? So, the pause I made was, the pause I made after the second hit was way too long. So Vergil ended up restarting, he ended up resetting Yamato Combo B instead of using the third hit because the pause was too long. But conversely, the Doppelganger, for whatever reason, didn't end up resetting Aerial Wave 2. Instead, he continued using it, which is kind of odd, because it's, if the pause for Yamato Combo B is too long, it should also be too long for Aerial Wave 2. So, yeah, make sure the pause isn't too long. Otherwise, Vergil will reset Yamato Combo B. But if you don't make a long enough pause, you'll end up using Yamato Combo A instead. So, again, these mistakes are on me. But it's definitely something to look out for. And by the same token, here you can see how I basically forgot the last hit of Aerial Wave 2. The hit where basically the Doppelganger is supposed to pin the enemy to the ground. And the reason I forgot the last hit was because I started holding the attack button, or rather the left mouse button, way too early. I miscalculated. I was like, alright, I gotta start holding it early for that perfect judgment cut. And I just completely miscalculated, so. And I've already shown you this mistake. It happened a lot, and I mean a lot. I don't know why, but, you can definitely end up mistiming your judgment cut. Like, you end up using a regular judgment cut instead of this perfect judgment cut, and as a result, Vergil ends up using this backdash, and the combo just fails. You really gotta make sure to, you gotta make sure to release the attack button not too early, but definitely not too late. You gotta make sure to time it perfectly when Vergil puts his sword back in its scabbard. So that's how you do this. Now, another mistake that is incredibly common is this one. And this happens with a lot of combos. Usually it happens with combos that, end with, that have Judgment Cut end as their finisher. It also happened with the Moist combo. It happened with the Blue combo. It happened with the Pit combo. And that is using Air Trick instead of Judgment Cut end. As you already know, Judgment Cut end is you lock on, obviously, so in my case I press shift, and you press forward plus trig button plus attack button, or in my case I press W plus E plus left mouse button. But even though I am clearly pressing this, Vergil ends up using Air Trick, which is just pressing lock on plus E, or lock on plus trig button. So it's like the game doesn't register me pressing forward or the attack button or anything. This is incredibly just mind-boggling how frequently this happens with so many combos. And it is made 10 times worse by the fact that basically this combo is so incredibly difficult. Imagine doing a combo perfectly and you have so many issues that you can encounter, and you finally get to the end and you fail because, I don't know, you did a regular Judgment Cut or you ended up using Air Trick instead of Judgment Cut end. That is, like, I remember just, like, I was so close to smashing my PC because of this. I have no idea to this day why this keeps happening. I think it has something to do with the camera angle. I am 90% sure it's got something to do with the camera angle. Because if you play around with the camera angle, somehow try to do it from below or tilt the mouse or whatever in some way, you have a chance to succeed. I still have no idea what this depends on. I don't know. I don't have any definitive explanation. All I know is that it's incredibly vexatious. And, as a matter of fact, funnily enough, the example that I've used for this video, like the analysis, was done from this, like, it was basically this video. As you can see here, I did the whole combo perfectly. It is literally impeccable, immaculate. You can't get any better than this. And then, at the very end of the combo, literally at the very end, I use Air Trick instead of Judgment Cut End, and I fail the combo. I don't know, man. I don't know. That is just it drives you crazy when it happens, and it happened with so many combos, man. With like I said, with the blue combo, with the pit combo, with the moist combo, with the market combo, so many combos where you gotta end it with Judgment Cut End or Deep Stinger, and you keep pressing forward plus trig button plus attack button, but the game only registers you pressing the trig button. It is insane, man. I don't know, man. No matter how many times this happens, I'm left speechless. Like, I can't even verbalize how incredibly aggravating this is. Like, this one time, I was trying this combo after, like, 4 hours of attempting it and all this trial and error, and I finally reached the very end. There's hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And then I use Air Trick, and I'm like, okay, no. And I Alt F4, I immediately just rage quit the game. It's really not worth it, honestly. But yeah, man, the combo itself, in theory, shouldn't be too difficult, honestly. If you got the speed that's required, if you got everything down, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. But like I said, there's simply too many things with this combo, too many issues that you can't explain, and they're too frequent. That is why this combo is so high up on the list in terms of difficulty, because it's needlessly encumbered by all these seemingly inexplicable issues. Like the fact that sometimes your enemy will be too high up on the Void Slash and the Doppelganger won't be able to catch them, or the fact that sometimes you'll use Rapid Slash instead of Void Slash, which is obviously a camera issue. The fact that sometimes the Doppelganger will blow the enemy away in a completely different direction and then you can't catch them with Void Slash. The fact that, sometimes the Doppelganger will desync, the fact that you'll sometimes use Air Trick instead of Judgment Cut End. All of these mistakes are either because of the camera or something that you simply can't explain, and as a result, can't have any effect on. So, yeah.